Good evening. First, let me say it's good to be here. It's good to have you here. I saw a T-shirt not long ago from a fellow downtown in Jackson. His T-shirt said, "If you're lucky enough to be in Jackson, Tennessee," and the back of the T-shirt said, "You're lucky enough." So you're lucky enough to be here tonight. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for the men and women through the years who have allowed us to enjoy the freedoms we enjoy today. We ask you to always and continually be with and bless them in their mission in life to protect our country. Thank you for the candidates we have running in this year's elections. Help them, guide them, do their best, and help us, Lord, to elect the people who will represent us and provide for our country the leadership it so sadly needs. We thank you, Lord, for the many blessings of life, for our families, our friends, and our neighbors. We ask you to watch over us and care for us, and we thank you for this food, and we ask you to bless it to the nourishment of our bodies and us to thy service. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
You know you're around a bunch of politicians when everybody's talking. This is a good night for the Madison County Republican Party. Let's all stand, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance in the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
That was Miss Madison Maroney, Ms. Lawfest, Team, and Angie Byers, who is the candidate for the Register of Deeds. Y'all may be seated. On behalf of the Madison County Republican Party, I want to welcome everyone here tonight. This is our annual event we do every year to raise money for the local party. This money goes exclusively to help elect local Republican candidates. And this is something I rarely ever do. As Senator Jackson comes up here, I want to recognize all of our Madison County elected officials tonight. If you will, if you're an elected official in Madison County, would you please stand?
I think I'm going to stand up.
As Senator Jackson has a special recognition, I want to give him the podium just a moment here.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate being asked to be here and letting me speak for just a minute. I want to talk about a couple of events that have happened in the state that are historic. And but before I do that, I kind of like to start things off a little bit light if I can, just for a second. Something happened to me the other day. My wife's not here yet, so I can tell this, I think. But she was calling on a talk radio show, local radio show here in Jackson the other day, and was talking about a lady who was named Woman of the Year, Kay Archer, so she was reporting that. And the talk show host said she knows him very well, and so they were visiting on the radio, on the air, and the talk show host said, "Mary, did you ever dream in your wildest dreams that you would be married to a senator?" And she said, "No, Ed Jackson's never been in my wildest dreams." So, before I get started, I'd like to just say one thing to Congressman Fincher. You're next. Congressman Fincher, thank you for what you've done for our state of West Tennessee. We're going to sort of miss you. Congressman Fincher has held his office for 6 years now, and with dignity and integrity, and you've given everything, all your energy, and you've also done it with God on your side. And so we thank you so very much. I will personally miss you very much, and so will everybody else here. But thank you for your service. Really, the reason I'm here now is I wanted to talk about a couple of events that I said are historic in nature, and we have our new Supreme Court Justice Roger Page over here, along with some of his colleagues. Roger. Roger several months ago put his name in in line for the Supreme Court Justice that seat to be filled. And so he was one of 9 candidates. Eventually it was narrowed down to 3. Roger was one of the 3, and Governor Haslam chose Roger to fill the seat. The process is that the governor then notifies the legislature, the lieutenant governor, and the speaker of the House that they need to come up for confirmation. The confirmation process is Roger had to appear before both the judicial committees in the Senate, Brian Kelsey's committee, and in the House to be confirmed. I sat through the committee hearing in the Senate, and it was about 2 hours of questions and answers that Roger had to do. He did an unbelievable job, and he was recommended unanimously in both the Senate and the House. Then the next move was he would move over to the joint convention of the House and the Senate. We met together, all 132 members of the legislature. I think there were 5 or 6 that were not there, but he won unanimously there. Republicans and Democrats voted him in. So Roger became the new Supreme Court Justice. And what's so miraculous about that is the new system that we voted in 2 years ago was where he is chosen, selected by the governor, and then the governor, that's the legislature, choose that person. So it's a very good process and it worked very well. But that's the first time in the history of our state that that's been done. So that was a historic event. I wanted to mention that. The other thing is that Roger is seated with 2 of his colleagues. They just happen to also be conservative Republican colleagues. And I would like to ask Justice Holly Kirby and Justice Jeffrey Bivens and Roger Page. If y'all would please stand up, I want to recognize you. 3 of the 5 members of our Supreme Court here in Tennessee. We're lucky to have people of this caliber here, and thank you all for your service. But that is the first time in the state's history that we've had a Republican majority on the Supreme Court. So those are 2 things that have happened in our state recently, just actually this month. So I just wanted to let everyone know about that. Thank you very much.
About about 9 months ago, we started a little project. We do not give this award away every year. And there's been a lot of work put into this little film you're about to see, and I so much appreciate it. Everybody's in for a treat. Now, you're going to see some folks that you hometown folks know. I've gotten a little glimpse of it, but I've not seen all of it. And don't laugh too hard when you see some of it, but you're going to recognize some faces. So just watch this film, and there'll be a speaker right after this.
And says what he has to say. I think you understand what I'm talking about. Jim is a man of principle. He has great vision for this party. And I think we can make a difference in 1992. We'll all come together and do the things we know that we should do. As you become chair with us, let us know exactly what I just said.
I would encourage you to realize that there's only one other option, and that is the state Tennessee Republican Party. It's founded on principles that you believe in. And I'm proud to introduce to you the best exponent of those principles this party has ever had from Jackson, Tennessee, Tommy Hawk.
Very much. Everybody's been talking about how worried about the crowd they are, and I can guarantee you there's not a human being in this room more worried about the crowd than I was for a different reason. Talking to Jimmy on the phone last night, Gary was in his office, and they were telling him about how many people they expected. Gary's estimate was getting up there pretty high. Jimmy said the success of these events in the past has not been that great. And I told Jimmy something that I thought, and he turned around and looked at Gary and said, Gary, I'm going to tell you how much confidence Hopper's got. And he said, if you got 300 people there, he'll get as fat as we're on the lips. And I was standing at the back down people, and they came in the door. More and more kept coming in. I was getting a little sweaty there, and then somebody looked at me and said, well, what are you going to do if 301 walked in? I said, well, I'm going to do what Earl Long did. I'm going to stand there, and the reporter was looking at him, and he was down there telling people about this road he had promised when Mike wasn't there. And the reporter said, the governor, he promised these people a road. And he said, what do you have to say about that? And he said, well, I lied. So I was going to tell you, Jerry, I was going to tell you I lied. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our beliefs are a majority. We're not. Our beliefs are. And I think the key to our party being a majority is standing on those beliefs, standing on the principles that Jimmy Wallace talks about. You know, our philosophy fits hand in glove with the old conservative Jeffersonian principles of the South, of our forefathers, and that is our greatest strength. And it seems that in this country, each generation faces a new challenge. When you look back over history, our challenge pales in comparison to some of the challenges that our ancestors and earlier generations faced. When you think about the war between the states and World War I, the fighting against fascism, and World War II. And yet our challenge is greater than theirs in some ways, because the enemy that we're fighting is not some easily identified foreign dictator. It's a lot more sinister than that in some ways. Our enemy is the silent song of government, lulling us into believing that government is the solution to every problem, that it can provide for our every need, that only Nashville or Washington is equipped to handle the problems we face today, that we as individuals are helpless creatures that can't get along without help with all-powerful government. That America is a country of guarantees. Your invitation is flyer that went out said, we are not a country of guarantees. We are a country of opportunities if we keep it that way. So it's ironic that 200 years after that first American Revolution, the same issue may finally compel those of us who've been part of the silent majority for years, may finally compel us to rise up and fight this issue. Because I really believe taxation without representation on the that's what we have in this country. That's what people ultimately will care about. And I believe that the currents of history will sweep us into power, nationally, statewide, and locally over the next few years if we have the will and the courage to fight for what we believe. Because what we believe is what most of the people in this country believe, and that's why we are. Charles.
In Hubbard and Kisburg. Prior to that, we were lucky to have 40 people showing up. And I'm grateful to all of you that are here tonight. And I want to thank you for being here, because there's never been a time when this country needs you more than it needs you now. And there's a dark days, and if we're to beat the Democrats, we need every one of you to do everything we can. On many occasions, I've been blessed with the opportunity to introduce important political figures who made great contributions to our fight for the conservative Republican cause. But none of their contributions come close to the level of those made by our celebrity tonight, Tommy Opera. At your table, there are envelopes. Thank you, Phyllis. And those envelopes have a record of everything he's done in this fight for our country, for our state, and for our county. And this room is filled with people who hold public office, and nearly every one of them, he played a major role in their success. 6 years ago, Tommy convinced Stephen Fincher. Stephen, where are you? Come on up here, man. Convinced Stephen Fincher to get off his tractor and run for the 8th District Congressional seat, held for over 100 years by Democrats. When I first met Fincher, I thought, my God, how in the world are we going to get this guy elected? I thought Tommy had lost his mind. I remember once that Stephen and I were in Humboldt, and we were trying to raise some money to run against an incumbent Democrat. And I told him, I said, you know, when I first met Fincher, I really wasn't that impressed with him. But after I got to know him, I believe he's the real deal. Well, when Fincher got to speak, he said, well, first off, I want y'all to know something. I ain't that impressed with Mr. Jimmy either. And I knew then that Tommy had picked the right man to be our next congressman. But all of this, Fincher's success, the success of so many in this room, has been because of this man. And he didn't do it for glory. He did it because he believes in this cause. And it's an honor to give him the Ronald Reagan Award for the Madison County Republican Party. Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Opera.
Democrats ban our guns, I've got a new weapon. It's kind of hard not to get emotional standing up here with these guys. I think the truth is that when you get an award like this, you truly believe that it is because of all of the help that you had along the way. Literally standing on the shoulders of others who have allowed you to accomplish the things that we collectively want to do. And the fact that this party is so successful in Madison County is due to the people in this room and the countless people that have gone before us. As Jimmy said, I mean, we used to have 25 people show up at a Reagan Day Dinner. And so I want to thank all of you that put in so much time and effort and work. And the key to all of this is standing on the principles that we share and that we believe in. Along the way, though, I've given a lot of advice to candidates, and I feel that advice creeping up on me. It's not to talk too long. And I've seen the program. It's awesome, and congratulations to those who put it together, but it's also quite long. And so let me just say, I am honored and humbled and truly, truly grateful. Thank you. God bless.
Hello, I am Tom Leatherwood. Melissa, my wife, and I were going on 26 years of marriage. We have 5 daughters, so if nothing else, I have learned to listen. As your congressman, I will listen to you, guarantee that. I ran my first race actually back in 1992, and it was interesting seeing the videotape. I actually traveled up here to Jackson for some support. That's a whole other story. My state senator was sponsoring a state income tax. Nobody was challenging him. I could not just sit back idle and let that happen. So I did challenge him and defeated him in the Republican primary, effectively killing the state income tax at that time. I guarantee you when I got up to Nashville, no one would come close to the state income tax. In 1999, when our governor started pushing the state income tax, I again worked with others and defeated it for the second time. I made a promise when I ran that I would limit myself to 2 terms. I kept that promise and I walked away. I didn't run for a 3rd term. And just as in 1992, I couldn't sit back, I can't sit back now as the Democrats are just tearing apart the moral and economic fabric of our great country. Abortion, partial birth abortion, illegal immigration out of control. We're approaching $20 trillion in debt. The 2nd Amendment, the 10th Amendment are under attack. Our economy is a house of cards. But you know, the Democrats didn't get us here by themselves. Too often, Republicans helped them along the way, promising us again and again things we know our country needs, but they went to D.C. and they didn't get the job done. There is growing darkness in our country today. But what a great time to be alive. What an opportunity we have to be the salt and light that this country needs at this critical time in our history. Yeah, I know, as in 1992, I'm called to be in this race. And I believe you too are called to rise up and be that salt and light our country needs now. We can do this. We can regain the strength, the character that made this country great. You know, our founding fathers embedded their strength, their character into our country. And over time, that has been worn down. Many people have just purposely worn it down, torn it apart. Others just haven't done what they should have or could have to build it up and strengthen it. But this is our time. We have been placed here now, and each of us faces a decision. As for me and my house, we've decided to take up the call and to rise up and be the salt and light necessary to regain that strength, that character that has made our country unique and strong. And I ask you, I call on you to rise up with me. It's in your hands now. Go to votetomleatherwood.org, make a contribution, volunteer your time. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight, and I would appreciate your vote, your support as the campaign moves on. Thank you.
I'm State Senator Brian Kelsey, and I'm running for Congress because West Tennessee deserves a congressman with a proven conservative record. When you vote for me, you're not getting a question mark. You're getting a proven conservative. With your help, we passed a constitutional amendment that I sponsored to forever ban that state income tax, so that Tommy Hopper doesn't have to continue to fight against it year after year after year. It is gone and dead now. And I've gotten a 100% voting record from Right to Life. I have A ratings from the NRA. And I received from the NFIB their highest award that they give out for protecting small businesses that bring jobs to this state. You know, I've fought the Democrats, and I've fought the Republican establishment as well to stop Obamacare from expanding in this state. And I am proud of that record that we've established in this state. In fact, I want to announce right here tonight, as a matter of fact, for the first time, that I'll be going to Washington on Saturday. And I'm going to Washington on Saturday because the American Conservative Union has named an award that I'll be accepting on your behalf. The American Conservative Union has named Tennessee as the most conservative state legislature in America. Now that's something that we should all be proud of. And I'm here tonight to ask you that you would send me to Washington one more time. I'm here to ask for your vote. I'm here to ask you to come, to send me there to fight for you in Washington, to fight the establishment in Washington. Because if we're going to turn this country around, it's going to take somebody with common sense, West Tennessee, conservative values. And I've proven that I will be that someone for you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is David Kustoff, and I'm proud that my wife Roberta is here this evening. We've got 2 children, 10 years old and 7 years old, and I'm running for Congress because of them. Because I think you all can realize and appreciate that their generation, they live in America that looks a lot different than the America that we live in today. And that America looks a lot different from the America that we lived in 15 or 20 years ago. And that's what I'm concerned about. I appreciate the fight that Congressman Stephen Fincher has fought for us in Congress over these last 6 years representing this district. And I'm telling you that if I'm elected, I want to be the congressman for the entire 8th district. And I think that's important. You look at the record of Congress, and frankly, I think even Congressman Fincher would agree, the power of this great nation, it's not in Washington. It's not in Nashville. It's here in this room. It is here in this district. And that's what we should all strive for. I'll tell you that I was chairman of the Republican Party in Shelby County for 4 years. So Chairman Mike, I understand exactly what you went through, and Chairman Deaton, and Chairman Jimmy, Mr. Jimmy. We had to fight to build that party from the ground up in Shelby County. And I'm proud that George W. Bush asked me to run his campaign in the state of Tennessee, and that year when it was very important. If we hadn't carried Tennessee, the recount in Florida would have been for naught. I ran his campaign again in Tennessee in 2004, and I was honored to accept the nomination of President George W. Bush and to be confirmed unanimously by the Senate to be the United States Attorney for the Western District of Tennessee, serving all 22 counties. This election is important. And I tell you, I watch TV and I watch the coverage of the presidential race, and the media treats us and the word conservative to mean something that they equate to hate. It doesn't mean hate. Frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it means that we love this country. We respect the Constitution. We respect the fact that it says what it says, and not to be interpreted by 9 men and women on the court to expand it however they want to. This country is at a vital stage, and I guarantee you that if I'm elected, I'm going to work hard, hopefully with a Republican president and a Republican Senate, to make sure that we return to our conservative virtues and conservative ideals. I appreciate your consideration. I appreciate your vote. Thank you very much.
Man, it's fun to be here tonight. I'm Brad Greer, and I'm on my old campus. Graduated from Union back in '91. My son, I want to introduce my son, Jonathan Greer. He's a sophomore here at Union, and absolutely enjoying it. And also my wife, please stand up, Jennifer. Jennifer Greer. Appreciate them being here with me. That is not my daughter, that is my wife. Anyway, you know, it's kind of interesting. We've got a fun race in front of us now. Mark Luttrell jumps in today, and everybody's talking. It's just going to scatter things about, and it's fantastic. But I do want to point out that there is a pretty severe warning out from the political committee of Shelby County right now. Apparently, Shelby County tonight is going to absolutely cave in, because all these politicians are here tonight on this stage, so we need to pray for Shelby County. I appreciate the guys that are here tonight, and welcome to Jackson. I've made Jackson home since 1987 when I came to school here, and got involved in political life at a very, very young age. Many of you I've worked with over the years. 10 years ago, I chaired this very event. We moved it that year from the fairground. Some of you will remember. Some of you who worked on that committee with me are here. We moved it. That was a big change to move from the fairground to the Civic Center, and it was a fantastic event. Set a goal for the committee, said, let's make this the event that has the most people that we've ever had, and let's raise the most money that we've ever had. And I am proud to say that because of the work of a good committee, we were able to accomplish that. And those are the sorts of things that happen when you bring people together. I believe that rural West Tennessee needs to be represented. And I've stepped in this race, and I'm running hard, working all through the counties. I've been to Shelby County, I've been to Obion County, I've been to Weakley County, I've been to all of the counties, almost without exception at this point, to get the message out there that rural West Tennessee, if Brad Greer is elected, will not get left behind. We have great guys from Shelby County who are here with me tonight, but the fact remains is we have had a rural West Tennessee congressman, and Shelby County has a congressman. His name's Steve Cohen. We need to keep this seat here in rural West Tennessee, and I assure you of a couple of things. If I'm elected, I will not forget where I came from. I'm a Union City boy and a Jackson boy. I will not forget the people who I am supposed to be representing. And I think in politics, a lot of times that gets left behind. The people who elect you and the people who've never voted. Those people deserve representation. And I absolutely intend to be a person who will do that. We believe in the same conservative values. We have differences of opinion on how to get there sometimes. But I assure you of this. I love Jackson. I love rural West Tennessee. And I intend to be a congressman that represents all of the district. Thank you so much for your kindness tonight. I look forward to meeting you as the campaign moves forward.
I'm George Flynn, and congratulations, Tommy, for this prestigious award. And Stephen, look what you started. You know, there everybody was mild, man, they're doing fine. Look what he's done. I'm George Flynn, and I'm running for Congress because I believe two things are true. Number one, this country, our United States, is headed in the wrong direction. And number two, politics as usual won't fix the problem, because politics is broken. It's broken. Now, I believe this is broken quite some time. I believe this when I ran in the past, and now it's 2016. And guess what? I've been proven right. And that's the reason I won't quit, because I'm not going to sit around and watch our United States, lose its future because of politics of opportunism. We have to do things differently. I need your vote because, same old political games are getting us nowhere. I don't play politics, and that's what all the political pros say. They tell me, you don't play politics. But the political pro, they wait for the right time to run. And they wait for the right time to fix the debt. And they wait for the right time to fix immigration and national security. And they wait for the right time to fix health care. Well, are we through waiting yet? If they won't fix it, we will. And I'm asking for your prayers, I'm asking for your vote, I'm asking for your support, because politics is broken, but it doesn't have to be. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dave Baldwin. I'm from Jackson, Tennessee. My lovely wife of 13 years from Camden, Tennessee. Cherie is back there. I have 3 young sons that are too wild and rowdy for this party. They go to Pope School and they're 5, 7, and 9. America is the greatest nation on the face of the earth. We have the greatest Constitution ever created. What we have works, yet the last 8 years of hope and change have brought us the need to make America great again. But America's already great. But we need to preserve that perfect union in our Constitution. We need to keep America great by keeping freedom of speech and freedom of religion at the top of our priority. Our freedom to carry arms at the top of our priority. But it doesn't take political experience, because guess what? We are founded as a nation on citizen leaders. When something happens, you stand up and make a difference. You see, the greatest fight I've ever fought it actually began about 1 year ago today. It wasn't turning a retail store around and creating intense profits. It wasn't 12 boys that my wife and I raised as house parents in a children's home. No, it was the scourge of heart disease. 1 year ago today, I was at Jackson General Hospital on my back, recovering from an open heart surgery. And over the next few months, I began to watch the political process. Priorities begin to shift. Priorities begin to change. It wasn't the same anymore. I realized that I couldn't sit on the sidelines anymore. I couldn't stand idly by and watch our nation go to hell in a handbasket. My children must have the opportunity to live in a land that's free. My children must have an opportunity to be free to do what they want to do. This country is at a crossroads. And I believe that any of us can have a voice. And I ask you today that you would stand up with me. I don't have the political pedigree. I haven't taken a bill through Congress. But when push comes to shove, what I can guarantee you is, as hard as I fought for my family, as hard as I worked, despite heart disease, I worked every day. I was back in 4 months, back at work. My boss said, hey, you need to stop working. You need to go on disability. You know what? This country wasn't made to be put on disability. This country wasn't made for us to sit idly by and watch while it goes bad. But we can fight. I'm not a politician, but I hope you send me to Washington. Go to Facebook, Day for Tennessee. Thank y'all very much, and God bless the United States of America.
Chairman Mike, the Madison County Republican family, Republicans from across the breadth of West Tennessee, I appreciate the opportunity to announce tonight my candidacy for the 8th District Congressional seat. I stand in the town where I was born, on the campus of the university where I graduated, 20 minutes from my formative years in Bells, Tennessee, 30 minutes from my father's home in Tipton County, Covington. I moved to Memphis at the age of 16 after working with my father, working for my father, in the farm implement business, feed and seed business. I've slopped my share of hogs. I've fed my share of cattle. I can tell you how to kill rats in the chicken house. All of those things that you learned in a farm environment. At the age of 16, moved to Memphis. I currently serve as the mayor of Shelby County for the last 6 years. Prior to that, 8 years as the Shelby County Sheriff. This is a district where about 50% of the votes will come out of Shelby County, but where 80%, yea 90%, geographically, the county is outside of Shelby. What this district needs is a representative who understands the challenges of the urban environment, who understands the issues in rural America, who can talk about commodity prices declining, can talk about the price of crop insurance, can talk about variable weather conditions, who understands the challenges of rural West Tennessee. But you also need a congressman who can represent the urban interest, the issues of crime and blight, and the challenges to education. The issues that we face in America that are common to both rural 8th District and urban 8th District. I'm known as a political figure that works well with Republicans, who works well with Democrats that were once Republicans, who works well with Democrats that would like to be Republicans, who works well with independents. This is not a country that is broken. It is a country that needs love, that needs repair, that needs a conscience, that needs leadership that can blaze the trail into the future. You know, Ronald Reagan referred to America as that shining city on a hill. A biblical reference that gives us hope in the future, that tells us that there is a better day. But only if we apply our spiritual gifts and talents that each of us possess to lift this country and this district up. This district is a shining city on the hill. I am pleased to be a part of it. I think of all the candidates that have spoken tonight, I am the one that can represent you in Washington as someone who understands what rural issues are important, what suburban issues are important, and what urban issues are important. Offering the best that this community has to offer. We are a good people. We are a people of promise. We are a people of talent. But we're also a people of challenges. We must address the challenges of education, crime, of poverty, of homelessness, of declining prices in the farm commodity markets, and the challenges that we see in rural America, but also the challenges of urban America. I think I offer the best choice for those challenges. And I hear my signal. I think I'm the only one that's been called tonight. God bless you for your attendance. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak.
Good evening. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak for Ted Cruz. And I want to thank all of you who put this together. It's kind of down memory lane. I see so many people we've known over the years, and just really has been fun to see everyone. I want to thank my husband, who's had to listen to me practice my speech for about 3 days, and on the 15th practice, I accused him of not paying attention. And he set me straight. He reminded me that I was not giving the Gettysburg Address. So, okay, for the last 8 years, we've had a president who's wanted to radically change America. He was virtually unknown, but offered change. I think we can all agree he has taken us in the wrong direction. We've been together in the trenches many times, haven't we? And here we are again with an even more important challenge, fighting for America and the future of our children and our grandchildren. My friends, there is no perfect candidate, except my husband was, but other than, but there is one candidate who has proven himself equipped to handle these serious times, and that is why I'm here. I first met Ted and his family at a Ted Cruz rally in Nashville on his Tennessee campaign tour. And I was fortunate to ride back on the bus to Jackson, so I had the opportunity to visit with his wife, Heidi. And a very important thing that I did was spend time coloring with his girls in the back of the bus. But I saw firsthand the importance of his family and his mission. Ted is the only presidential candidate that has campaigned in Jackson. Many of you were at the fairgrounds to hear him also, weren't you? So Ted is a tireless fighter for liberty. He's fought for his entire life because his family knows what it's like to lose him. His father, Raphael, had been tortured and imprisoned in Cuba and fled to the United States. His father often said to him, if we lose our freedoms here, where do we go? His dad has taught Ted his entire life the value of freedom and a love and respect to what has made America great, our Constitution. As a teenager, Ted memorized the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and recited it across the state of Texas with a group of high school students. Ted earned his bachelor's degree at Princeton University and then went on to Harvard Law School. One of his professors called him one of the smartest students he'd ever taught. After law school, he was awarded the prestigious position as a law clerk to the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court. He later returned to Texas where he became Solicitor General and argued cases before the Supreme Court. I want y'all to listen very carefully. It was win, win, win. I was told that he won so much, the liberal justices asked him to stop winning, and Ted's response was, no sweat. Now, that was a joke. But I'm not kidding when I say that there's no doubt whatsoever about Ted's vigilance to defend our liberties. His two heroes are his father, the pastor, and President Ronald Reagan. Let me say here about President Reagan. He was not an overnight Republican, but rather was a tried and true established Republican by the time he ran for president. In 2012, Ted was elected to the United States Senate, beating the Lieutenant Governor of Texas. He kept his promise to Texans to speak the truth and to go up there and do what he said he was going to do. In doing so, he had the courage to choose the uncommon DC path and step forward for the good of America. And in doing so, quite honestly, has stepped on some pretty big toes along the way. If there was ever a time America needed a leader such as Ted, it is now. Realistically, the playing field is narrow. So why should you choose Cruz? With the Supreme Court Justice Scalia's untimely death, the future of the Supreme Court hangs in the balance and will be decided by the next president. Ted will look for principled conservatives with a track record and is committed to put the political capital behind him to get him confirmed. He has a deep knowledge of how a proper nominee should think. Experience really does matter. Ted Cruz has been a consistent conservative. His life has been focused on supporting religious liberty. He has said that his faith is integral to who he is. He also believes the proper basis for public policy comes from principle of individual liberty and from our Constitution. He advocates for a strong balanced budget amendment to the Constitution to stop out-of-control spending. His mission is to pass fundamental tax reform, making taxes flatter, simpler, and fairer. Ted has said we should let taxes be so simple that they can be filled out on a postcard and sent to the Treasury. He voted in favor of a bill to approve the Keystone Pipeline in order to make it easier for our nation to build our own energy infrastructure. He supports the life of the unborn by voting to defund Planned Parenthood. He upheld the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, by voting against and stopping Obama's gun control legislation. Ted says we must deal seriously with threats of ISIL and nuclear Iran. This includes passing legislation that strips American citizens who join ISIL of their U.S. passports, so they cannot return home and wage jihad against innocent men and women. Ted understands the importance of rebuilding our military to protect our nation and restore America's leadership in the world. On economic matters, Ted has a tax plan that made Maria Bartiromo, a financial journalist and anchor, say it was the best she had seen. Jack Welch, former CEO of General Electric, is a supporter and trusts Ted's plan. Art Laffer, chief architect of Reagan's economic plan, also thinks Ted's plan is the best. He has spent much of his professional career defending the U.S. Constitution. No one has fought harder to protect the people from Obamacare, amnesty, violation of religious liberty, and free speech. In history, we who have followed the greatest generation now owe it to them and their legacy to preserve America for the next generation, that is our children and our grandchildren. We have a trustworthy candidate, Ted Cruz, who can channel the anger across our country into the change we really need. He has the necessary blend of intellect, proven conservative record, maturity, and stability to best serve America as our next president. I'd like to again repeat what Ted's dad said, and that was, I'm sorry. He said, if we lose our freedoms, where do we go? So I respectfully ask you for your vote for Ted Cruz tomorrow. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Justin Joy. I'm former chair of the Republican Party of Shelby County. I'm also running as a delegate in the 8th District committed to Governor John Casey. As a former county chairman, you've got a few advantages, a few pluses. You don't have to worry about getting speakers and where people are sitting, and you get to sit back and enjoy your dinner, right, Jay? You hope you're enjoying your dinner tonight. But you're also a little bit out of the loop. And one thing I had no idea about tonight was that Shelby County Republicans was a sponsor of tonight's dinner. So, Chairman Mike, I thought that was a great idea. And I've got a form for you to fill out so Madison County can sponsor our dinner next year. So, I'm looking forward to that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start off with 3 points that I think that we can all agree upon as Republicans. Number one, this country has been headed in the wrong direction for at least 7 years, and some would say a lot longer than that. The second thing is that we have to act now to begin to turn things around. We can no longer keep kicking the can down the road. We are running out of road to kick that can down. And thirdly, in order to make that happen, we're going to have to defeat Hillary Clinton this November. So, with those 3 points of agreement, the question then becomes, how do we go about defeating Hillary Clinton and beginning to turn our country around? Well, we can no longer be the party of no. We have to become the party of telling Americans what we are for, not simply talking about, in some cases shouting about, what we are against. We have to share our positive vision for the future of America and to be able to do that with credibility and a plan to execute. John Casey is the candidate who can do that. We have to look beyond personalities and look at substantive policies. We have what I consider to be some generational problems that are developing in this country. Sure, we have very immediate problems too. We must secure the border. We must defeat ISIS. But we have problems in this country that did not come about overnight. They've been developing for the better part of 1 and perhaps 2 generations. These are problems that my children, who are now 4 and 1, are going to have to deal with because it's going to take a generation or 2 to solve them. Problems like a bloated federal government bureaucracy that is completely out of control, a complex tax code that hampers economic development, and for me, out of control spending, a budget that has not been balanced for a decade and a half, that is annually adding to a national debt that has now exceeded $19 trillion. Get your calculators out, ladies and gentlemen. That is almost $60,000 for not only everyone in this room, but everyone's child in this room and everyone's grandchild in this room. My children, who again are 4 and 1, will be paying that debt most likely for the rest of their lives. It is time to turn this country around. Governor John Kasich has got the plans to be able to do that. He's got the plan about getting the budget under control. Let's get a balanced budget amendment passed. One of his big points. He's got the national security background. He understands what it means to get taxes under control, to freeze regulations. Kasich is the candidate who's got those plans, and quite frankly, I think he's the only candidate who's got the executive and legislative experience to get that done. We have a big decision, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow in this state and then throughout the country. We're not just picking Oscar awards here. We're picking our nominee to deliver a positive vision, not only for our party, but for our country. And I believe that Governor John Kasich has got that vision, has got those plans, and has got the ability to execute on those plans. And I appreciate your consideration for him tomorrow. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to be here with you tonight while it's still legal. And that's the reason I'm voting for Donald Trump. Folks, all these good folks you see running for the 8th district here, I've worked probably for every one of them. David Kustoff was my first chairman. Mayor Luttrell, I work with him on a daily basis. Dr. Flynn gave me my first check to run on. They're all great folks. Tom Leatherwood, I work in his campaign. I know most of all of y'all in here. My folks are from Beach Bluff, places like Beach Bluff, Benson Mounds, Henderson, Montezuma, Silerton, Selma. Y'all heard of them places? Well, that's where old Terry Rowland comes from. But folks, listen, the reason why that I'm supporting Donald Trump is because I'm tired of apologizing for stuff that I don't need to apologize for. I'm not going to apologize for being a Christian. I'm just not. That's my God-given right to be a Christian and to stand up for it. I'm not ashamed of my military. I'm proud of my military. I want somebody that's going to give them the tools to work with and to take the chains off of their hand so they can do their job. Folks, we're a resilient country. And I tell you, Stephen, I love you, brother. I'm going to miss you. Stephen's family and my family go way back. I just went to Washington to see Stephen, but he was raised like I was. I was raised in rural West Tennessee. Now, folks, who was Mr. Greer made the point that Shelby County already had a congressman? Well, listen, in the redistricting, I got put in that congressman's district, and if y'all up here in Jackson really want him, we'll get him to you. He does not represent my values. We had an event Saturday night. We had 16,000 people show up. I had 2 days to put that event together. Folks, let me tell you something. I don't care who wins. No, I do care who wins. I want Trump to win. But what I'm trying to say is if any of the other candidates win, I'm going to work hard and get behind them. I promise you. I'll vote for Mickey Mouse before I will Hillary Clinton. Let me tell you, I talked to Mr. Trump. I talked to him today. He's a very serious man. When you get to know him, he's really down to earth. And I believe he's our best chance of turning this country around, folks. And that's what we all are probably wanting. But again, let me say this and make this absolutely clear. This is coming from a guy that was born a Republican, that for the last 35 years has given more money, marbles, and chalk than anybody I know of, put more time in, and I've crawled places to make sure people got elected. Whoever comes out of this primary, folks, let's come together like a family like you've never been before and support whoever our nominee is. Thank y'all for allowing me to speak to y'all tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. It's on the way over tonight. My wife and I were talking about the speakers, and most of them have done a good job tonight. But when I saw Terry Rowland speaking for Trump, I thought how fitting, and I love Terry and our families do go way back, but Trump is crazy, folks. Now look, he may be our next president, and we're sort of in the mood for crazy, but Terry's crazy. So it is fitting that Terry is speaking for Trump. I love you, Terry. I'm going to take just a minute and tell everybody how grateful, and I'm going to introduce Chairman Issa and not speak anymore, just to try to speed this up. Tommy, congratulations. Mr. Jimmy and I talked today some about Tommy's award tonight, and I can say this and from personal experience. Tommy has a job. Other consultants, Chip is here and do this job, and I kind of rank political consultants. The worst job is the fundraiser. It is the worst job. The second worst job is the consultant, and the third is the candidate or the congressman, Tommy. But Tommy cares about the country above just being a consultant. And he has given his life, you know, the sexy thing or the popular thing to do. Tommy's not always done it, but when he met me the first time and Jimmy Wallace threw me under the bus, he did. Tommy saw that I wasn't a perfect candidate, still not a perfect congressman, but that my heart was to serve. And Tommy, I saw those photos of you speaking tonight, and you were pretty good. It surprised me. But I love you, and congratulations. And Mr. Jimmy, this will probably be Mr. Jimmy's last Reagan Day Dinner. He's really getting old. I mean, I didn't know if he was going to make it tonight. He's kind of crazy. Sally's wonderful and beautiful as ever, but we love you. My wife, Lynn, is here with me tonight, and we're stepping away for family reasons, nothing more, no scandals, nothing hidden. Hopefully someday you'll get a chance to maybe vote with me again in some capacity. But this has been an experience out of this world. It's been a bumpy 6 years. But as I was thinking about, and I'm going to hush and introduce Chairman Issa, what to say tonight. Our country is, as someone said a few minutes ago, it's stronger than one congressman or one president or one Supreme Court justice. It's you. It's we the people. And if we stick together, you know, this country was founded upon the backs of people who got tired of it and who stood up and wanted to change, and we made a change. Folks, we can do that again. We love you. God bless you. Thank you for voting for us so many times and for all the checks that have been written. Thank you for all your support. So with that, now I get to introduce Chairman Issa. Chairman Darrel Issa from California, I've got to know in the last 6 years. Most of you watched him on TV, Oversight Investigation Committee, Fast and Furious, all of those investigations and hearings that we had. Let me tell you folks, you talking about a bulldog. This guy, he doesn't care if it's popular. He's going to do the right thing. And I think we were talking a few minutes ago about the common themes that he and I have. And I never would human admit this, but I'm retiring, so it's the truth to it or not. But when a congressman from Broad Jump and a congressman from California can agree on things, that's a good thing, folks. That's a good thing. Make welcome tonight, all the way from California. We're both going back to Washington tomorrow. The Speaker for Senator Marco Rubio. Please give a West Tennessee welcome to Chairman Darrel Issa.
Now, one question I have for all of you is, who had a stopwatch on that? I want to get a copy of that watch, and I want to use it, because I know that there's a slight difference. And I hope you'll be indulgent for a moment for me. I'm not going to talk a long time for Marco Rubio, and the reason is that I only have a few things to say. And but let me start off by thanking Stephen and Lynn. Stephen, I don't know how to tell you this, but we have a lot in common. We were both born in a year that ends in a 3. Mine was 53, you were 73. Which makes you 2 years younger than Marco Rubio. So in a couple years, you'll be ready. We both have very beautiful, talented wives. If my wife was here, I would argue she was more beautiful, out of self-defense. And we're both left-handed. And we both appreciate gospel singing. One of us can do it. But let me go to the main event. I've gone to, I guess, 6 states so far for Senator Rubio. And I've done literally hundreds of appearances on radio and television for the person that I think we as a party should nominate to be our standard bearer and be our next president. And I've done it for a couple of very straightforward reasons, and they're all very personal. First of all, I had the honor of working with him. As chairman of the Oversight Committee, you'd think, oh, you've got all this power. And I'd go over to the Senate was in the minority, and they'd welcome me over because I had subpoena authority, and I'm, asking very kind questions of people who take the fifth. Or worse. And you would figure that, that's enough, right? So we'd go over there and the senators would say, what about this? Go get this guy, subpoena this, I need these papers. And I would come back from the Senate policy lunch I took a staffer after a while because I couldn't take all the notes of all the desires they wanted in the minority. And Senator Rubio, no different. He would have some idea of the day, and I would take them all down, and I would do as many of them as I possibly could. And most of them were great suggestions. And I've made some friends over there as a result of being able to do that while they were in the minority. But then, from time to time, I would want to hold push on a candidate or a bill that I had a problem with, and it might have even gone through the House, even in the majority. And there were only about 3 senators I could count on that if I told them I needed it, they would make it happen, and then they'd ask me why. And Senator Rubio was one that was always there to say, if you need this, let me put it on there, and within the next couple of days we'll talk about it. And that's important when you're trying to work to pass legislation and stop bad legislation. Now, the second reason that I've been so fond of Senator Rubio is something he gets beat up for all the time. And that is he arrived in the minority. I serve on judiciary in the House. We had been trying to move serious immigration reform with real teeth in it, criminalizing in a real significant way, both coming here illegally, knowingly coming illegally, and of course those coyotes that bring the people here and put real punishments in, ones that would put them in prison for a long time, even on the first time. Senator Rubio arrives that I'm in the minority, but I'm happy to fight for those things. And he gets talked about as the Gang of 8. Let me tell you, we in the House said, you send us anything so that we can send something out of the House, and then we can conference it, and we can either get a good bill or no bill, but at least we've got a chance. And Senator Rubio worked with the Democrats, and he produced something he didn't like. He had some teeth, but not as much as he wanted. There were things in there that he had already said that he didn't want. But the Gang of 8, quite frankly, did what the House wouldn't do, which is they said, okay, we've got a comprehensive bill. Now, he didn't want us to pass the bill and send it back identical, send it to the president. And he made that very clear. And he had championed border security from day one and pushed real efforts to expand border patrol slots and so on. And I knew that because I'm on House Judiciary and I've been working for immigration reform since the day I got there. And immigration reform that really would fix a broken system so we wouldn't have to do this a second time. So we stopped sending home people with masters and PhDs to the countries they came from and replacing with people that win the lottery from third world countries and come with absolutely no skills and don't even necessarily have any connections in this country. They just took advantage of a quote lottery. Stop chain migration that says that half of all immigrants simply come here because somebody else came here, rather than they have the skills, the desire, and the real opportunity to add to our economy in addition to their own benefit. So I'm going to tell you, I want somebody that if the House and the Senate will come together and will champion real reform, that means we don't have to do this again, that we have real fixes, that we have a guest worker program that works, a front door you can come through for legal immigration, that puts a priority on what's in America's best interest, not just what's in some other country's best interest to send people over here. It fixes the system that's been broken, and quite frankly makes it so painful for people to break the law that they don't do it. The last reason is I listened to the candidates as this thing got going, and your congressman has said enough about Donald Trump. I'll leave it to his wisdom. But I don't need someone to be the equivalent of Barack Hussein Obama in the White House. I don't need somebody with all the answers. I need someone who's inspirational, who brings people together and finds a way to make them come to real compromise, conservative compromise. That's what this guy was all about. He didn't like Tip O'Neill. His diary is filled with the truisms that Tip O'Neill was always double-crossing him. But he kept a smile, he worked with them, he passed really good legislation, including the most reasonable, art laugher, flatter bearer tax that unfortunately we no longer have here today. And he did so with a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate. We're going to give Marco Rubio a Republican House and a Republican Senate. But we're going to need somebody who can bring America together. Lastly, I serve on foreign affairs. I've been very fortunate in my career. I served on small business. I got out of that so fast making head spin. Who wants to be small in a business? I was like, this committee's all about staying small. I want to go to Energy and Commerce where we talk about people growing their businesses. I served on judiciary since day one, foreign affairs since day one, and then Energy and Commerce. And obviously was honored to serve on oversight for 10 years. Serving on foreign affairs and traveling to the best of places and mostly to the worst of places, I know that we need someone who looks at the world with an open mind but with a lot of education. And Marco Rubio has done that. There is no candidate who better understands the world as it is outside our borders. And by the way, we have some other good candidates that you've heard about. John Kasich was a personal friend of mine before I came to Congress. And I really, really respect him. I can find no better vice president for Marco Rubio to help move his agenda. But we need someone who will go around the world who already understands that Barack Obama has broken the world. He's broken the trust we have with our allies. Our enemies don't fear us, they negotiate with Obama and win. And our friends don't trust us. And I'll just tell you a personal story. And I'm sort of coming to an end of the Marco Rubio part. The last year and the year before, almost every year, I go to the Middle East a couple of times. So I was in Jordan, and I had a briefing. It was supposed to be a classified briefing before I went to meet with King Abdullah and one of the princes who sort of runs the military side for him. And they told me in this briefing, don't bring up the subject of smart bombs or the raids, the F-16 missions that Jordan's doing. Okay, I'm a good soldier. I have plenty of other things to talk about. So I go into the meeting with, and the reason was that it's very sensitive. If you give Jordan weapons that are precision-guided, smart bombs, if you will, and one of their pilots goes rogue, it goes toward Jerusalem, it could be a real international disaster. So it's like, okay, I get it. So I go in and I meet with King Abdullah. End of the meeting, just before the end of the meeting, King Abdullah says, I need to talk to you for a moment. Kind of moves people away. We walk over to the side of this beautiful room. And King Abdullah says, I understand you're going to Israel next? I said, yes. So you're going to meet with Bibi Netanyahu? I said, yes. He said, would you thank him? Sure. Well, what? Well, he's been giving us smart bomb front ends for the American gun bombs, and that's how we've been hitting the targets in Syria and parts of Iraq. It says a lot about a relationship between the U.S. and Jordan versus a relationship between Israel and Jordan. So then, I have my conversation with Bibi, who I work with every year at Davos at the World Economic Forum, which is kind of interesting when you sit on a panel with the Prime Minister, and he knows more about cybersecurity than anybody else on the panel. But, so I had that meeting. Well, the next few months later, I go to Nigeria and then on into Egypt for a mission to go to our northern base in the Sinai. Now that base is where we enforce the counting and the control of the 1979 truce and peace agreement between the two countries. There's an international mission that we had, the U.S. has, that makes sure that the Egyptians don't put troops into this area because it was officially demilitarized. Now, by agreement, they've modified it where there's about 2.5 divisions of Egyptians there fighting ISIS, which kind of makes you wonder why we're still counting if they keep adding troops in large quantities. But I go there. We fly into a kind of an interesting base. And the last 15 or 20 miles, we're flying at 75 feet off the ground in this little C-130 looking thing. And I ask, of course, why? I'm a pilot. I get in the middle between the pilot and co-pilot, not having a great time, but I am kind of wondering, why we're doing this. He said, well, they've got man-packs out here, and it's not a good thing. I said, okay, good. That makes me feel good. The Marine in the back, that's my detail, wasn't aware we were having such a good time. So we land, but just before we land, he's got a screen on there that shows all the other aircraft in the air around us. They're at different altitudes. Here's one that's way up high, and it's a commercial aircraft. And this is just a few weeks before that Russian plane was shot down, or bombed, and came down over the area. But there's these little dots. Some are red, some are blue. I said, what are those? He said, oh, those are F-16s. I said, well, why are some red and some blue? And he said, oh, well, the red ones are Egyptian and the blue ones are Israeli. Okay, and I'm looking, and I know where we are in the Sinai, and I'm looking, and I said, but they're all over Egypt. He said, yeah. I said, well, why are they all over Egypt? He said, I can't tell you. I said, okay. So we land, and I go in, and I ask one of the military, U.S. military that's there, and he kind of goes like this. And he admits that the Israelis are doing bombing raids in the Sinai, and the Egyptians are flying cover so that you can't tell who's actually dropping the bombs. Because that's how two nations are fighting ISIS in the Sinai. Again, why is it I don't get that in classified briefings in the U.S.? I have to go over there and find it out from a Czech pilot flying a Spanish aircraft into a peace mission that probably has served its course. And I thought I'd share that with you because I can tell you that I believe Marco Rubio is the answer. I believe a standard bearer like that will be another Reagan, another inspiration, will bring us together both here and around the world figure. But I can also tell you, we need that so badly. After 8 years, almost 8 years of war in the George W. Bush's administration, a war that we didn't ask for, it came to us, we didn't take it to them until after we were attacked. And now 7 years of just downright inept mismanagement, bad direction, so much so that there's not even, Secretary of Defense Gates wrote us a second book. And the second book tries to rewrite things that he wrote in the first book that are no longer true, like Obama makes good decisions. That's where we are in the world. And I'm going to close, although I was encouraged to talk more about my time on oversight with your congressman. I'm going to look here, and if I get a nod, I'm out of here. But I will tell you one other thing, which is part of why I'm supporting Marco Rubio, but it's part of why I feel so strongly we have to pick the right president. For 7 years, and I served in the Bush administration and oversaw some of the screw-ups they did.
the difference with the Bush administration and the Obama administration. In the Bush administration, when they were screwing up, what they would do is they'd go to the speaker and they'd say, look, we're going to comply with all the requests, first from Republicans and later from Henry Waxman and the Democrats took over. We'll comply with all of them, but give us some room, we'll take care of it. Now, they were wrong. The bureaucrats outlasted them in most cases, but they genuinely did cooperate while trying to fix problems. Under Obama, they don't even give the bureaucrats a chance. They just flat obstruct at every step. And they've proven that if a president under current law just doesn't want to cooperate, you cannot get him or her to cooperate within an 8-year period. Brian Terry was murdered in the desert of Arizona before Christmas in 2010. We are still in court, not yet up on the first appeal of the federal judge's rulings, which mostly went our way, by the way, so the Department of Justice will do most of the appealing to keep us from getting documents. But here it is. It will be more than 6 years from his murder. It will be more than 6 years from a false statement made to Senator Grassley and myself in January of 2011. And we still will not have the documents that were withheld by the Attorney General. Now, I have a commitment from Marco Rubio that I didn't ask for. He volunteered it in conversation. That if he's president, that in fact he will sign laws that make it obligatory to either comply with these kinds of requests from Congress or allow a quick expedited trip to the U.S. Supreme Court so it can be properly arbitrated. So if Congress overreaches, the court can decide and maybe decide that Congress is overreached and not tie it up for 6 years in the court. I haven't had conversations in detail with all the other candidates. I can tell you, I don't think Donald Trump would understand the issue if I tried to explain it to him. He hasn't looked into those details. I know that Senator Cruz would understand it. I'm not sure he would agree with it, but I'll give him a chance to. If the Cruz representative would like to ask him, I'd love to hear it. Because if we're going to take America back, and this is as somebody who served in a role that uniquely made me understand this, if we Republicans are going to take America back, we can't have the EPA thumbing its nose both at us and sometimes at the administration and outlasting us and outlasting the administration and waiting for better days when an administration likes what they do. We can't have our lands tied up. We can't have our waters tied up. We can't have laws passed without the consent of the Congress and the ratification by signature of the President. And that happens every day today. So I kind of get to be the closing speaker, and you have been very kind. But think when you look at who you're going to support and endorse. Are you going to support somebody who will sign legislation that actually gives up some of this absurd, excessive power that the bureaucrats and the, if you will, the rulemaking authorities have? Give up the ability to delay executive order questioning and action until past the time the president leaves office, which means you never get enforcement. If you're going to vote for somebody, ask yourself, will that candidate, whoever it is, be the candidate that will both motivate and bring us together, learn the issues and work on them here and around the world, and have respect for the limitations that our founding fathers truly felt the executive officer should have. And don't ever kid yourself. No president's going to give away his power to send the military anywhere, anytime he wants to. That's not going to change. But it's all these other areas. Brian, you're sitting right here and you've got that look like, shit, what am I running for? I guess according to Trump, I should apologize for that. But I will tell you, whoever you send us somebody half as good and half as willing to work. And by the way, I didn't hear a Q&A on all that. Are we asking people where they stand on XM Bank reform?
We passed it, it's done.
No, we reauthorized. We got a lot more of your reform to do. I'm going to close here by telling you that I've had no better friend on understanding that even when you have something that in principle should be killed, oh, we shouldn't have government guaranteed financing of exports. And then you look at the rest of the world and you say, if we're going to have our companies compete we should fix this, we should make it responsible, we make sure fiscally it's never going to cost the taxpayers a penny. But how could we unilaterally disarm? Now, it takes a real conservative to be willing to define conservatism as we win if we have the best products. The French lose if we have the best products, unless, of course, we let them finance in a way in which we're not even allowed to bid. So, when you thank your congressman for 6 good years, remember he was a champion for something that wasn't popular among conservatives, but was more conservative in his approach than any other member of Congress he led in that way. And I want to thank you for letting me share the stage. God bless.
Earlier this evening, you had the opportunity to participate in the straw poll. Once again, we want to say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being attentive. Thank you for being a part of the conservative movement. And tomorrow, if you haven't voted, make sure you get out there and vote. So for the straw poll, the presidential primary with 34.5% of the vote, Senator Ted Cruz won the straw poll tonight. And for our 8th district congressional seat with 22.5% of the vote, Brad Greer.
We are looking for Mr. D. Where is Chairman D? I would make fun of Gary, but at least he still got his hair. So, I noticed on the film you looked a little different.
Let me remind everyone, all of you, John D. Graham, most of you, John D. Graham. John D. right now is 90 years old, but he's in hospice care and he's asking for your prayer. He's been a faithful member of this body for many, many years, and he was one of the first, probably the first Republicans in the county, right, Jimmy? And Jimmy, you don't look that old as me. Matter of fact, I think I'm older than you.
You look a lot better.
You'll all stand, we'll have a closing prayer. Precious Lord, we bow before you, Lord, to thank you for who you are. You're the Son of righteousness and the Lamb who was slain. You're the lily of the valley. You're my bright and morning star. You're the beginning and the end, the everlasting Father. You're the God of all glory. You're my healer and the King of all kings. My deliverer, Lord, you're my friend. You're the sweet rose of Sharon. You're all love, you're all power. You're merciful and you're mighty. You're the Redeemer of all mankind. You're the Lion of Judah. You're the ruler of the universe. You're the Most High Messiah. You're the soon-coming King. And your name is above every name. You are the King of kings and the Lord of lords. Lord, we thank you for your goodness and your everlasting mercy. Lord, bless our nation, Lord. We sense sometimes, Lord, that we've turned our back and walked away from you. Lord, forgive us for that. And Lord, when we come together, the only hope we have is in that precious name of Jesus. Lord, bless us and keep us. And thank you for this gathering tonight. We ask these things in your precious name. Amen. Amen. And everyone, Tommy, congratulations.